like Bad Girl Anthem, right? Like when I dropped that teaser on socials, you should have seen the comments. The comments were like the internet went wild on TikTok, like it was going crazy. Obviously, a lot of people were like, "This is who he is." Do you know what I mean? Like he's embracing his culture. Let's show him love. And then some people were like, "Who does he think he is?" Like, I didn't know this guy. This guy thinks he's Jamaican. Well, yeah, I am.
Orisé, such a pleasure to have you on the platform.
Man, it's good to be here, Micah. Thank you.
So I'd first like to celebrate you as an icon. You founded JLS, but not just that, you're a successful solo artist, which I think that a lot of people in my audience might not know. You've worked with the likes of Pusha T, you've toured with the likes of Craig David. And I just want to give you your flowers at the start of the interview and just celebrate you as somebody that has had such a positive impact on Black culture.
Oh wow, thank you so much. I'm doing my best, humbly, I'm not where I guess I aspire to be yet, but every day is a blessing, and I'm very, very grateful for all the blessings that I have been able to come my way.
Thank you so much for coming on again. So I'd like to start by just starting with your journey. So when you were 12, your mom was diagnosed with MS. When I hear your story, it feels like a defining moment. How did that shape who you became?
Very character building. I went from being a baby to an adult overnight. Ultimately, when you care for your loved ones, it builds a different kind of resilience that I don't think anything else can. No one wants to see someone that they love suffer. Being a parent myself, put myself in my mum's shoes, I can also see how difficult it would have been for her without her saying it or outwardly expressing it. But, we're a tight family unit. We come together. My little brother, my little sister, also were incredibly supportive, although I try to shoulder the majority of the responsibility so that they could just have their childhood. But it definitely took life in a different life change, definitely life change in that moment. And but coming from the culture that we come from, you know how it is. You're just expected to take care of your elders or the people in your family, your parents, your grandparents, your uncles, aunties, anyone that needs support. That's just kind of like normal. So I don't really ever look at anything special at all. It's only that other people highlighted it to me when I started doing my thing in the music game, when they started to understand a little bit about my home life. But before that, to me, it was just like normal.
And, one thing that I like to just, talk to you about is, you were young at that time. How did this, situation kind of influence your entrepreneurial ambition? Because I know that you founded JLS, but you, from a very young age, had a desire to be, successful in the music industry, but not just from a music standpoint, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint.
Absolutely.
So I want to focus upon you as an entrepreneur at this moment in time.
Okay, so I was always trying to find a way to be able to fend for my family, support my family. Actually, when I was a kid, I put together a project called YPP, Young Pioneers Project. And that was me collecting some of my friends in the ends that sing, dance, rap, do all kinds of kind of urban music. And I sold in a concept to a private school that me and my friends essentially would come in and tutor their students in urban music or in, I guess, Black music culture. And that was incredible because I managed to, at a very young age, as a teenager, selling an idea to a corporation that never ever had anything like this ever in the history of their schooling, and give some sort of exciting experience and unique experience to the students during their extracurricular activity time. And also I got my friends paid. That was cool. And we did a performance at the end of that whole, I guess, tutoring week. And that was just one of many different things that I had done or put together growing up, where I was just trying to find a way and just think about different concepts and ideas to make progress for me and my family.
It's really incredible. And even, you know, going on from that point is you founded JLS. So a lot of people, you know, they see JLS, the group, but they don't know that you're the person behind it. So I want to firstly ask you 3 points on JLS in one question. So
Okay.
how did you come up with the idea from JLS? How did you, you know, recruit everyone to the group? And then the third part is, you know, going to the X Factor and beyond the X Factor, how have you managed to keep the group together and become not just this, you know, music magnet, but an entrepreneurial magnet? Because people might not know you have merch. You've done lots of different business ventures.
Yeah.
So JLS is not just a music group.
Yeah.
It's also a movement within itself.
Absolutely. So the story around the group and how I came up with the idea goes as far back as when I was 15 years old and decided to move to Nigeria. I moved to Nigeria for a number of years. And whilst I was in Nigeria, I was seeing a lot of vocal harmony groups, and those groups like Star Plus, P Squared, many others that weren't even famous, but just kind of local groups. And I was just inspired by the singing and by the vocal harmonies and just, it was just soaking up that energy in the motherland was so much of an all immersive experience. It was incredible. And even just switching on DSTV, that's the channel they have out there, and they have a channel called Channel O, and it showed musicians and artists from throughout Africa, and a lot of the time it was groups. And so I had the idea that when I came back to the UK, I'd put a group together, I'd write for this group, I'd manage it and sign it to my own label, but I would never be in the group. That was never on my mind to ever be in the group. It was just on my mind to be able to nurture the group and create for the group. And then when I got back to the UK, just, I guess, as I went on the journey of putting the group together, certain different elements, certain different things made me decide that actually maybe it's best for me to be in this group that I'm putting together. And the idea originally came as well when myself and my brother first got the news that our mum was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. He would become a biomedical scientist and I'd become a musician, and together we'd raise money and find a cure for our mum. So that was the original idea. And Temi did graduate in biomedical science, and obviously I did become a musician, but that kind of fairy tale childlike mentality you have as a kid, you realize when you're an adult it's not as easy as that. There are researchers and professionals and scientists that are trying to find the cure to all different kinds of conditions, as well as, you know, the one that we were affected by in our family all over the world. And that's like an ongoing thing. So I guess that was really tough to have to deal with, that we couldn't just magic up this potion and our mum would just become better and can just walk again and be the mum that we always knew and had fun with in that way, you know. So, you know, go to the run to get the bus and go to the park and kick a ball, and it's just like all of these things that you just take for granted that we couldn't do anymore at a certain stage. So that was that, you know, and it was an interesting, I guess, very complex and in many ways confusing time as children. And then obviously bringing the group together, I just went out and I really just locked in. I was advertising in colleges, university, music shops, going up and down central London, just putting this post up, basically saying that I'm looking for members for a supergroup. I went that far. And I had then done the study of groups from old. So I'd studied every group in history, from the Temptations, Boyz II Men, Jodeci, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, you name it, B2K. And I did my research. And then I knew what I was looking for in each member. And then going on that journey, finding each member that suited the slot that I was looking for, with certain characteristics, and then when it happened and we came together that first time, and I asked the boys to meet me on a weekend at the Dance Attic Studios in Fulham, and I introduced everyone to each other, and it was just like a really kind of magical moment for sure.
That's really, really incredible. And you know, before the X Factor, there were lots of people that doubted your journey. They doubted that you become this big group that you are now, and all become successful in business. And you've all also launched your own businesses. Looking back at that moment, how did those struggles and that whole concept of people not believing you kind of spur you on to become what you have now?
I'm the type of character that if somebody tells me I can't do something, it doesn't affect me to the point of, okay, I'm just not going to do it. It doesn't even give me the inspiration to go out and prove them wrong, to be honest. I just believe what I believe inside of my heart, and I just go forwards. I'm a guy that I follow my heart. I follow my instinct. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I haven't quite hit the mark in certain things, and I've had to deal with that because I'm like, my heart told me that this will happen, and my heart told me that this will happen in this way. And then when at times it hadn't, I had to really question myself. And that was really difficult, because from being a young boy to putting together a group that became an astronomical success, now I feel like, okay, I've got the Midas touch. Now I feel like anything I touch turns to gold. I'll be honest with you, that's how I felt. And then when I realized the reality of life, and that there's lots of different kind of factors and moving components that can disrupt or delay your aspiration of what you want to achieve in different things and in different ways, but then also honoring the whole idea of God's timing. Sometimes it's just not your time, and sometimes what you want right now actually may be better for you a few years down the line. Sometimes even though you want it now, you're not ready for it now. And that's something that I comfortably understand and I comfortably accept. Therefore, I continue to pursue, I continue to persevere, and I continue to surrender to the universal timing of, the Most High.
That's so incredible. And when I look at so many different groups, Simon Cowell, who created One Direction, and all of these other groups, that have taken place all over the world. Little Mix, you have the Spice Girls, all of these different groups. One thing that I've never really understood is, considering that you're such a visionary, considering you're such a genius in the entrepreneurial world and the music world, and even now transitioning, as a solo artist, why do you think you haven't fully got the recognition that you deserve?
That's an interesting question. I don't do this thing for recognition. I don't do this thing to be adored. Like, I love music. It's my passion. I love being able to innovate and create. That's my passion. And so me being, I guess, recognized for the things that I'm passionate about, I'm not sure if that is I don't think that's what drives me. Do you know what I mean? I think what drives me is the creativity itself. Mm-hmm. Of course, I want that to reach people, right? So, yeah. And there is definitely a level of self-validation when somebody turns around and goes, oh, yo, what you done was dope. There's definitely a good thing. It makes you feel good. But I feel like if you do things for the purpose, the sole purpose of someone patting you on the back, you are going to suffer in silence for a long time. Because we live in a world where people, unfortunately, they limit and they restrict their love. And people aren't always so open like that, or have their own inner, I guess, it's almost like a sense of self-security for themselves. People are very insecure. And so to be able to turn around to, you know, one of your friends or someone that you admire and go, do you know what, I rate you. It actually brings out people's insecurities in some respects, in some ways. You have to be someone that's so secure within yourself to be able to appreciate others. And so for me, it's just, I'm just in this space whereby I'm just happy that anything that I do believe that I do with good intention, and I do believe brings joy to people. So seeing the joy that the fans that I call my family, and day ones now, the JLSers and everyone that's followed the group from day one, get so much love and so much happiness and so much enjoyment when they're at the concerts and the shows and they're throwing their hands up in the air to everybody in love and all this kind of stuff. That makes me happy. I don't need for anybody to turn around and go, well, Orisé, you did this. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And this all started because of you. It is what it is. I just care about how much I can give to others. That's what drives me. Look, when I drop this, or when I show you this, or I do this, you know, what are you going to get from that? Are you going to feel empowered? Are you going to feel like you relate? Are you going to feel like I'm expressing something that inside you truly want to express, but maybe don't have the confidence to express? But you can live vicariously through me and how I'm, do you know what I'm saying? How I'm flexing. So that's just kind of, I guess, where I'm at on it. And I don't know if that makes any sense. It might sound all like a bit of a madness, but that's how I feel.
No, it makes complete sense. And I'm just very grateful that you've just been so open about it. I really do appreciate it. And one thing I'd also like to touch on about your solo career, which I think is so cool, you collaborated with Pusha T on your song Waterline.
Yeah.
So tell me about the whole story about how you collaborated with Pusha T, how you wrote Waterline, how how the whole production happens. Because it's one of your, most listened to tracks on Spotify. Nearly 2 million streams. I think over 2 million streams now.
Oh yeah, wow. Okay, I'll check that after this.
So please just tell me all about it.
So, yeah, man, that was an interesting time. So I had met this quite a big manager in the game. And actually, we were talking about collaborating in the sense of nurturing other talent, because obviously after the group, I was kind of in a place whereby I didn't really know what was going to be next, really, if I'm being honest. And I was thinking more about, well, what would I love to do? And what I would love to do is be able to share my light with others and be able to give other artists, writers, producers an opportunity, right? So we were talking like this, and then he turned around and he said to me, have you ever thought about making your own record? I was like, oh, yeah, maybe way back when, but since I've been doing the group thing, I've just been focused on the group. And he goes, well, I'd love for us to, just try something and see what happens. So anyway, we did Waterline. And he was like, man, I need to just send this out. And then he called me when I was on the last JLS tour, the goodbye tour, when we were going our separate ways. And he said, oh, Orisé, Good Music are interested in your what you're doing, your tune. I said, who's Good Music? He said, oh, it's Kanye West label. It's mainly a hip hop label, but they're looking for singers. And actually they think that you would suit. But I also want to take it to Darkest as well, Universal Records in the UK. So Pusha T was on Good Music. Obviously, later then became the president of Good Music when Kanye stepped back. And when we went to see Darkest with Waterline, Darkest was like, yo, you ain't leaving here until you sign with me. This record's so dope. And I guess with Darkest, the reason why I wanted to go with Darkest at the time was because Darkest was the first black president of a major label in the UK. And Island Records, some of my heroes in music were signed to Island. You're talking like Bob Marley, Amy Winehouse. I mean, the list goes on. And so for me to be there for my first kind of solo experiment, let's say, it just felt like a massive honor. And seeing Kanye move into more of a fashion space, I just thought maybe I'm not, maybe his eyes not gonna be on his label and he's gonna be more into the fashion thing, which it proved that he later on did move into more of that space. And actually being with Darkest at Island Records, a label that is legendary, I want to kind of start this kind of solo thing there. And it was exciting at first, but I was always kind of, how can I say, I was always cautious. When most people like sign a record label, you see them on IG with the popping the champagne and signing the contract and 1,000 guys in the room and, do you know what I mean? Yeah, we did it, baby. We signed our first record, all this stuff. I didn't do any of that. I just kept everything quiet because I just thought to myself, if for any reason this doesn't go to plan, I kind of don't want anyone to know that I was ever signed solo. So I'm just going to that happened and then I can keep it pushing. And when I signed to Darkest, very shortly after, there was so much movements within the executives of the label that me as one of the artists was impacted by that at the time. So it became like a little bit of a very tough situation, and a confusing situation for me, I guess, because it was like we just shot the video, went to New York, Pusha T pulled up, we did our performance together, the video was dope, the song was there, just started to put it out. The record first was exclusively dropped on Jay-Z's website, Life and Times. It was getting all this love. Nobody knew it was me because also Darkest wanted me to change my name to OWS, so I just went with it, which in hindsight maybe I don't think was the best idea, but I was new to this whole solo thing, so I just thought whatever they say, I'll just run with it. And then it was an interesting first experience. And then obviously from there, I just took some time to just, I guess, be in my own musical space and develop my sound myself, and then start this kind of whole independent journey away from any kind of major label corporation.
That's really incredible. So, starting your independent journey, what have you think are some of the benefits of being independent versus, some of the disadvantages of being independent? And how has it given you that creativity to develop your Afro swing style? And also, I also want to touch on a couple of your tracks. So, Baddest Girl.
Yeah, Bagger Anthem.
Viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
So yeah, please just talk to me about all of that.
Yeah, I've been having fun with music. I've just been enjoying myself, not taking myself too seriously. I've been making myself laugh, seeing sometimes the comments of when I drop a record and no one's expecting me to flow and flex. And, I'm mixing up my London culture with the patois and the pidgin and, mixing it all up and just having fun with it. And yeah, it's this independent journey ain't easy, but I have enjoyed being fully in control of my creativity, fully in control of my business, and learning so much along the way. There's so much that I didn't know that through being an independent artist, I've learned and understand how labels work to a certain degree on an independent small scale, niche scale. and understanding, okay, cool. So if I do this, that triggers that. If I do this, I need this person as part of my team. I need that part of my team. And that person costs that much. And that person over there costs that much. And so now I'm having to do all the budgeting and where are we going to spend the money and where have we spent money that we maybe shouldn't have? And also, how do I want to, roll this out? Because there's a number of different structures that I can use to put out a record. Now, what structure am I going to use? Am I going to focus on the online streaming side of stuff? Am I going to focus on social media? Am I going to focus on radio? Am I going to focus on TV? All these different things. On this campaign, do we need TV? On this campaign, do we really even want to look at radio? What is classed as a success on each campaign? Is a success being top 40 radio, or is a success gaining traction on TikTok, which edges us forward for another record and just keeps on edging us forward little by little by little? So there's so much that I've been learning, and that's been exciting, right? But I'll be honest with you, I guess what you do have with a record label is you have the infrastructure and you have the budgets, right? You have much bigger budgets to play with. So when they throw things at the wall, and if it doesn't stick, a lot of the time they still have money to be able to go again and just do something else and do something else. When you're independent, every penny counts. Every single penny counts, because music is a very expensive game. And don't let anybody, get twisted, or don't let anybody tell you different. Music is an expensive game. Everything costs. And nobody tells you that part. They just look at, oh yeah, this guy is doing this. And sometimes somebody might not have a record out for and then not have a record out for 6 months, right? And everyone's like, oh, you should have dropped a record by now. But what they don't understand is that behind every record is budget, is strategy, is time and effort and expense. And if you don't have, an investor or a label, then you're self-funding everything. So to continue to put forward the capital to keep on going every single time is not easy for anybody, no matter how much money they have. Mm-hmm. So I'm understanding and I'm learning about music as a business whilst I've been on this independent journey, and appreciating music in a different way. Because when you're signed to a major and everyone's doing everything for you, you just wake up in the morning, they're like, okay, Orisé, there's your car. Okay, Orisé, there's your flight. Okay, Orisé, there's the hotel. Okay, there's you need to be at this TV, you need to be that, doing all your diary for you, basically babysitting you. But you're not in control of where all these costs, but all these costs are your costs. But you're not being in control of it. Okay, if I really thought about it, and I know that's part of my budget and my cost, maybe I wouldn't have taken the Uber executive car. Maybe I just would have went with the regular. Do you know what I mean? For today, do you know what I mean? So that I could save that money and put it maybe more into the video or whatever else. So it's all learning. And I'm learning along the way.
That's really incredible. And, even just quickly, being, an independent artist and, creating your own sound. How did you create the Afro swing sound? What inspired you?
Yeah, so I kind of call it Afro-Island sounds. It's all down to my upbringing. I grew up in a very Caribbean household, but with my roots in Africa, my parents as Pan-Africanists. And also my upbringing, I grew up between the UK, Nigeria, and the Caribbean. And I was traveling constantly all through my childhood, back and forth, all these places. And sometimes I guess people maybe would depict me from knowing me from the group as a certain thing. And I feel like I'm just in this time in my life where I deep down inside really yearn to be my most authentic self. Now, my most authentic self, for people that haven't known me for me, it might be something so brand new to them. So they might look and go, but is he really that? Some people, right? You see sometimes social media comments going crazy, and I had some like Bad Girl Anthem, right? Like when I dropped that teaser on socials, you should have seen the comments. The comments were like the internet went wild on TikTok, like it was going crazy. Obviously, a lot of people were like, "This is who he is." Do you know what I mean? Like he's embracing his culture. Let's show him love. And then some people were like, "Who does he think he is?" Like, I didn't know this guy. This guy thinks he's Jamaican. Well, yeah, I am. I started replying to some of the comments just for my own humor, going, "I'm actually Welsh. Yeah, you're right." Yeah. Or "I'm Irish." You know what I mean? But I was just having fun with it. But it was, I was making myself laugh throughout that whole time. But it was interesting because it showed me as well, oh wow, people really don't know me and my background. I guess I never really spoken about it, and I was just kind of riding a wave in pop music and focusing on my family in the background. So those other things, I didn't realize actually that there was something that I had to really show people for them to take it in and embrace me in that way. But what is being very apparent is you can see when I'm out there and I'm flexing and I'm writing these records, and you can't write these type of records if it's not authentic, right? And consistently. So the Afro-Island sounds is just me mixing my Caribbean, my African, and my UK, West London flavor all in one soup, and then that's Orisé Williams.
That's really incredible. And even like following on from that, you've actually received recognition from Leigh and who's a member of Little Mix.
Oh, Leanne,
sorry.
Yeah.
Leigh, not Leigh, and Leanne.
Yeah.
From Little Mix. So what did that mean to you to receive it?
Yeah. I me and Leanne have the same vocal coach, and we actually bumped into each other when she was leaving a vocal coach session and I was going into a vocal coach session, and we actually had this conversation just about culture and coming from a group and being able to want to be ourselves without being judged, marginalized, and discriminated against. And I feel the both of us have experienced that in different ways. It's probably a lot harder for her being a female, a mother. And it's beautiful to see her success, because even her success shows that if you stay true to yourself, that the more you push and push and push and you push, at some point the trolls will just all fall off, and you'll be in a place whereby you always knew you should be, you deserved, and who you are, like, truthfully. And to see her achieve what she's achieved as well has been inspiring for me. And she's always shown me love with, I guess, this solo journey that I've been on little by little and dropping records. And I think people like her and many others can see my consistency. But it's been nice. It's nice sometimes when your peers pull up and just say, you know what, I see you. Yeah, keep going.
That's really incredible. And in terms of, you know, you and Leanne, could there be like a collaboration down the line, you know, working together? Or
I would love to, actually, to be fair. I think me and Leanne could definitely do something exciting and culturally relevant together, especially coming from the pop space and just diving into our heritage and flexing our heritage could be quite an exciting thing. So yeah, man, definitely, you know, so when she's ready.
And, you know, another thing that I find, you know, a little bit disappointing about the music industry is that when I look at the UK space in terms of black singers, and I look at the US, and I look at the disparity in terms of success. So you have Craig David, you have Seal, you have Lemar over here, but you compare that to Chris Brown, Neo, Tyrese Gibson, for example.
Yeah, Usher.
What do you think is going wrong? Because, you know, we have so many talented black singers, even like you, Orisé. You know, you've created this style that's blown up on TikTok, But I don't feel like artists like you, Craig David, Lemar, are anywhere getting the recognition like a US counterpart. So
yeah, it's I don't know how much I want to say on this one, but yeah, it's techie. It's very techie out there. Obviously, Black British singers have always, there's always kind of been this limitation placed on us to some degree, right? This is of old, right? When you think of Lyndon David Hall, you think of, like you say, Lemar, Craig David, Silk. You can only name a few. And why? When there's so many incredible singers out there. Mm-hmm. And even when you look at Elamine, like modern day time, Odile, mad love in the US. Where's the love in the UK? Obviously, the culture and the people, community, big them up, know them. But why aren't they on, do you know what I mean, the same kind of popular level as maybe some of our other counterparts that aren't, you know, it's just like, it's wild. Like, it is actually extremely wild. But if we don't continue to push and break down these doors and break down these barriers, then the next generation have no hope. So in my mind, it's like our responsibility almost. And even if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, at least we would have contributed and added to progressing the opportunities for the generation that will come after us, right? But God willing, it will happen in our lifetime. And Craig is an absolute legend. Lemar is a legend. I love to see what actually Donaeo has done with Lemar, Omar and himself on the Nights Like This record that's been going crazy last year. Every time I see it online, I'm like, fire emoji, fire, fire, fire. Because the beautiful thing is seeing Black singers come together and collaborate in the same way you see the rappers and the MCs and the drill artists coming together and collaborating and all succeeding together, in the same way that us singers need to do the same. And we shouldn't be afraid of trying to hog success. At the end of the day, it takes a movement, it takes a community to be able to make a difference. So we shouldn't forget that.
That's really incredible that you've said that. And do you know what? When I look at your journey and I look at, you know, everything you've achieved, you know, JLS is now selling out stadiums. You're literally breaking TikTok. I'm trying to be modest, but you are literally breaking TikTok. And lots of people actually look up to you as a person, everything that you've done in terms of your advocacy for so many different community areas. And I can't just pin you down to one because you've done so much for the community as a whole. Looking back at your success now, like, how proud do you feel of how far you've come from being that young boy, you know, growing up in the ends, to becoming this person that so many young Black, you know, ethnic minority people can look to and say, okay, this is a idea of what success can look like?
I've always been passionate about wanting to be a voice for the voiceless. Obviously, being a young carer from 12 years old to coming from a culture and a community that often gets marginalized and put in a box. And also, let's be real, coming from a history where our ancestors were enslaved and had to find the courage to break out of their shackles in order for later on me and people like us here to have a shot at life. None of that's lost on me. It weighs heavy on me, and I understand the responsibility with all of that adversity that has been overcome before me and for me, that I need to not waste a moment, not waste a breath where I'm not trying to contribute and give back. And so that's why I am always so committed to want to do my very best in raising others up as well, and supporting others in giving them hope and courage to be whatever they want to be, that they can do whatever they want to do. They just got to decide.
That's actually really, really powerful. And I think that just embodies who you are. You know, I look at your Instagram page, look at your TikTok and everything that you've done. And, you know, even when I look at, you know, you creating, you know, JLS, and now they've joined the O221 club.
Yeah.
Drake and Prince.
Yeah. Crazy. Insane.
Yeah, I want to talk about the achievement, but also going back to what we just discussed earlier in the interview. How do you think it will inspire others? Because a lot of young black people will look at you, Orisé. They'll look at people like JB and Marvin, and they'll be like, I want to be successful like them. And then they're seeing that you're, you know, making history with Drake.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild. Absolutely. It's interesting when that 21 Club moment happened at the O2 last year. The first person I brought to see it was my mum, and I said, "Mum, this is all because of you." And she looked at me and she was like, "Orisé, well done. Like, it's very lovely what you've achieved." I'm like, "Mum, you're not listening to me. It's all because of you." She don't want to take no credit. And I feel like what's important is that parents really help to guide their children, but also encourage their children in whatever they want to do and achieve in life. And that moment was just like the biggest thank you to my mum. And even in that thank you, she remained the beautiful, humble, selfless soul that she is. And that also reminded me that I must continue to be humble. Keep your feet on the ground. Yes, this is a great achievement, but do you know what the greatest achievement is? My 2 children, my sons, my wife, being there for my family and doing my very best every day that I can for my family. For me, that's what the greatest achievement is. And that's what I look at success. And I feel like, especially in our culture, it's also very important to put onus on family. Success isn't only about money and acquisition. Success is also about family and love, and not forgetting that these are also the most important things in life. Our relationships, our friendships, our family. And listen, no one's perfect. Everybody goes through things. Everybody falls in and out of love, right? And back in love again sometimes, right? But let's not also be so focused on chasing money, acquisition, and material success that we also forget about the things that are truly important.
That's really incredible that you say that, because, you know, I had another question about, you know, you being, you know, husband and a father, and also being on the road a lot because you're always touring. But one thing that inspires me about you is the fact that you're so active in being a father, and the community can see you active in being a father and a husband. So firstly, how do you find the balance, and what advice would you give to other high flyers within the black community that might struggle in an area you've excelled in?
I wouldn't say I've excelled in that area. I'll be honest with you, and I appreciate you feeling that way and you saying that to me, but I struggle with balance. In all honesty, I really do struggle with balance. I don't think I understand how to create equilibrium across my life. And I'm so all in when I'm onto something that something else always suffers. Now, yes, I'm a very present father, right? And a present husband, and trying to do my best for my family. And at the same time, whilst I'm there, I do recognize that sometimes I let other things suffer. But then when I'm focused on, you know, I don't know, touring and being, and I'm away from my family, then, you know, then it's harder for my wife to hold down the fort without me there sharing the responsibilities. So it's hard. It's not easy, and I'm in awe of my wife every single day for being a boss in her own right, being an incredible human being, a committed mother, and juggling so many different things, and still showing up and being the most incredible human being that she is. I'm in awe how she does it all, because I don't have that ability to find balance and be able to spin so many plates like she does. It's incredible, right? So what I will say is that I'm passionate. I love my children dearly, and I want to be the very best father I can be, an example I can be for them. I'm not always going to get it right, but all I can do is try, and that's all we can all do, is just try.
Wow, that's really, really powerful. And another exciting thing is, I know you're working on a project right now.
Yeah.
So I always get really excited when I get the exclusives.
I'll play you some stuff after this.
But please just tell us about your upcoming project and what people can expect.
Yeah, the upcoming project is definitely rooted in my culture. You're gonna see Orisé Williams completely unapologetically being me. Like, I am not holding back. I'm not going to subdue myself, and any idea that you have of me, or preconceived idea that you have of me, all of that, you might as well just throw that all out, because what you're going to get is, you're going to get the real to a level that is going to be audacious and provocative, and you're going to feel in such a way that you won't be able to ignore the feeling of what I'm giving to you. So that's what it's going to be. And I'm excited because I've written so many songs. I may have written over maybe 2,000 songs at this point.
Wow.
So I've got bucket loads of songs, and I'm just in that space now where I need to choose. And I'm constantly in my car listening to, oh, yo, man, today I feel like that one needs to be on the project. And the next day I'm like, oh, but how, if I want the project to be, say, I don't know, 5 songs that's exclusive, then how am I going to secure that 5, but then not have that one on? Can I make that one a bonus? Or so I'm just in that selective place, and every day, like, sometimes I want to swap songs out for each other, but I'm also continuing to write, and being in the studio is a beautiful thing. I've got some incredible people that I write and collaborate with. I've got to big up some of my guys like Santiago, Sion, Malogo, Como, different producers, Michelangelo, AO Beats, Jonathan Charles, the list goes on. And I'm working with people all over the world as well, which is great. So a lot of UK homegrown, but also collaborating with people in the Africa and the Caribbean and some in the US, which is great. So you're going to get this real kind of influential, global, universal sound. And what I want to really give to people as well is that essence of that real human experience. It's been great, like, even with the last few records I've done, Sober, Bad Girl Anthem, and just flexing my heritage and having fun with it, and kind of taking the piss out of myself in some regards, and having and bantering, and that's been fun. But now I'm definitely going to get back to the soul and get back to the heart and get back to the truth of the human experience, and how I feel about that, articulate how I feel about that through my music and my songwriting.
It's really incredible. And you just said something that really stood out to me. You've written over 2,000 songs.
Yeah.
So how do you go through that selection process? Because I'm really fascinated when any artist has the work ethic like you do. How you select?
It's very hard. You definitely can't do it by yourself. So I have my people that sit with me, and they have the playlists and they have the files they have on the drives, and they hit me like, oh, yo, you go crazy on this one. We need this one to be on the record, or we need this one. So it's one of those things, man, whereby you'll feel it, and what I want to feel is something that feels cohesive, right? So cohesive with a few curveballs to just keep you on your toes. I feel like I know where I'm at with it, and now it's just a matter of timing and putting it all together. I know a lot of people are online going, Orisé, when you doing a solo tour, when you dropping the solo project? And sometimes I feel like a lot of my fan base definitely get frustrated because it seems like I take forever. And I don't want to overthink things, and maybe I hold my hands up. I can be the guy that overthinks and is constantly chipping away at every single detail. But I want the experience to be right for anybody that's able to be a part of it. And I hope that they will thank me for taking my time and giving them something that really means everything to me. I don't take for granted that I have incredible day ones that have been with me from the very beginning, from when I was on the TV screens with the group, all the way into this kind of new solo chapter, as well as still kind of pulling up at some of the group shows when we get on the road together and live some of those nostalgic memories together and give them that. But it's not lost on me the love, my OW fam and JLS's and day ones, they said forever and a day. We had this kind of vow to each other, forever and a day. And they really have been by my side forever and a day, through the highs, through the lows, through everything. So it's exciting. I'm excited that I'm able to finally give them something that really means everything to me.
I think that's one thing that's just not just incredible about you, but incredible about what you've created, is that you're creating this project. You've worked with the likes of Ivorian, Stylo G, all of these people.
Yeah.
So
big up.
One thing I want to say to you is, how do you select who you're going to collaborate with? Because one thing that always fascinates me is how artists select who they're going to collaborate with and why they collaborate with them.
For me, everything's natural. It has to be natural vibes always. But even with Ivorian, let's talk about IVD, right? So I saw her on socials basically feeling highly depressed about the music industry and the mistreatment that she's felt within the music industry. And just seeing her express herself online in that way made me just want to reach out and go, hey, I'm just checking in on you. If you need anything, I'm here, type vibes. And that's how that relationship came about. I just reached out. I was like, I see what you're going through. I can understand what you're going through. The industry isn't easy at the best of times. And it's not usually there for you at your worst of times. But as a fellow artist, I just want to reach out and say, if you need support, I'm here to support you. And she was like, I just want to get back to the music. That's what she said to me. I was like, okay, well, I do have a studio. If you want to pull up to the studio, feel free to use the studio and we can just, make some music, right? And you can just have that time to just feel free. And that's exactly what happened. She goes, I would love to do that. So that same day, I think evening, we met up at the studio and we were just basically having fun, creating, right? Doing what artists love to do, create music. And she was like, what have you been working on? And I played a Bad Girl anthem and she went crazy. She stood up, she started dancing and she was like, I've got something for you. And as soon as she got on the mic, she went crazy with her verse, which everyone always points out her verse, how much they love it. And yeah, man. And then from there, we shot video and visuals and content together and everything else. And it was a real organic, natural collaboration. And that's just one example of all of the kind of natural friendships that I have in this industry, that where then the collaboration comes from that.
It's also incredible. One thing that I really like doing is when I listen to a conversation, something comes to me. So you talked about, mistreatment within the music industry. This is not the first time I've heard this. So I interviewed another DJ called Preds UK, and I also interviewed Griminal as well.
I'll big up Griminal still.
And they've all talked about the challenges of the music industry. So from a mental health perspective, I want to ask you, how do you kind of handle that? Because I think that in terms of artistry, you're easily one of the best black singers we have out there.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not saying it just
I feel very humble and honoured. Thank you.
I'm not saying it just to like boost you. I'm saying it, I'm being genuine.
I appreciate that.
But, when I look at you, when I look at likes of Marvin and Ashton and JB, I think that your, journey as solo artist, I don't think has ever really been appreciated the way it should have been appreciated.
Okay.
So what I want to ask you is, from a mental health perspective, how do you balance that? But still, you've put out banger after banger after banger, despite not always getting, the recognition, the love, the flowers that you actually deserve.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no one said it was going to be easy being an artist. I feel like if you want to be a musician or artist, especially in 2026, especially in this generation, this era, you got to really love it. You've got to really love it. Because you have to be all in. You want to be an artist, you got to be all in. You can't be a little bit of an artist, then a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. A lot of people wonder, sometimes ask me the question, why aren't you doing a lot of TV stuff? Say, some of your other group members and some other people that we see from your era are doing a lot of TV stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I will get there, and I'm happy to explore different things. But I've been so focused on the music and so 100,000% all in the music, because I know I see how hard it is. How hard is it to be heard? And also I think with the industry, the difficult thing is that a lot of the times in different ways, someone needs to open the door for you. And that's really hard to have to rely on for any artist. Because you can go into the studio, you can be making the most amazing music in the world, but someone's got to decide that your music goes on this playlist, or you're able to open the door for radio and achieve, A-list at Radio 1, or, get a TV opportunity to perform, or be at a festival and be on the lineup. So there's at every stage, there's somebody else that has to decide on whether you are going to get the platform or not, right? And that's really tough, especially when you spend relentless hours and hours and hours writing and recording your best music, developing your talent, all of these different things. It can be a very mental, jarring experience for many musicians. And probably many musicians will say, like, this is the hard part about music. And having to rely on others isn't easy. But all you can do is show up as your best at every stage, right? And whenever the stars align. I remember watching Skepta at his Mercury Award speech, and he said something, and I've never forgotten what he said. And it sounds so simple, but if you're in music, you understand why it resonates so much. And that is, he said, all this time, all I've been trying to figure out is how to connect the dots. And that's how it feels like a lot of the time. Like, you're just trying to connect the dots. You're just trying to make it all work. You're hoping that each move you're making is going to contribute to you getting closer and closer and closer to you fulfilling your destiny. That's not an easy thing. So I think when he won that Mercury Prize, when he won that Mercury Award, it was a validation that for years he's putting in the graft and the hustle, right? That he deserved that moment. Like you look at BBK, you look at Boy Better Know, and you look at that whole movement. That whole movement should be, in my opinion, commercially appreciated from the UK and represented. Look at the work that them guys have done and the doors that they have broken open, the boundaries, the adversity that they've overcome for so many of them to, you know, show up and be given the appreciation that they deserve. You look at America, Wu-Tang Clan, Rockefeller. You look at obviously all the different kind of movements that there are. Boy Better Know It to me is up there for the UK. Look at So Solid Crew. All of it is crazy, and yet these guys like Mega Man, my God, do you know what I'm saying? Mega Man, So Solid, like this is like genius stuff. These are genius people from our culture that we could look up to say, oh, yo, there's a black guy or a black girl out there and they're creating waves. They're doing things that have never been done before, but yet they're not loved and appreciated and held up as real entrepreneurial icons. Why? Because if our community saw more of our entrepreneurial icons up there being celebrated and appreciated, it gives our community examples for them to be able to follow. So I don't know what it is. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But as I think about my children growing up in this world, I definitely want to see more examples of iconic entrepreneurs from our community being showed the appreciation and given the platforms that they deserve.
That is so powerful, and I can resonate with it because all the people that I've interviewed have all said, you know, similar thing to you. And I just wanted to, you know, go back to your point because it's so interesting that when you talk about, you know, people like, you know, Rockefeller and, you know, Young Money, Cash Money,
yeah.
And you look at, you know, So Solid Crew, you look at, you know, the likes of, you know, JME and Skepta and all of these people. What do you think, in your opinion, because you're also, you know, even being a part of JLS, you know, if I look at JLS and I even look at One Direction, the differences and opportunities when you're both around the same era, JLS, iconic in the black community. You know, when I told, you know, lots of my cousins that I'd be interviewing JLS, I have never seen some of them scream and shout so much.
Yeah, so funny.
So but then you look at One Direction and it's just like the difference in the way how One Direction might be promoted or Young Money, Cash Money might be promoted versus, you know, some of the UK groups that are equally as talented, you know, Boy Better Know. All of these people. What do you think the barriers, what do you think's gone wrong? What do you think the barriers are?
It's the people that can push the buttons, right? So it's the people within the infrastructure that can push the button for, right, now you've got a global platform for everybody to see your talents, right? And if they don't push that button, then it's very hard. You then find yourself in a limited situation. So it's just what it is. And as I said before, it's your talent's one part of it, but there's a whole business and infrastructure that needs to funnel your talent through and give it the platform for it to get the maximum amount of exposure. And that's the part that obviously for all artists you're hoping for, and you don't know when that time might come, but you're hoping at some point it will come. And that's why this game is not for the faint-hearted, and it's a long game. It's a long game. You can't think that, do you know what, I'm going to drop a record and overnight I'm going to become the biggest thing in the world. Like, no. There's a reason why they say usually it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. Because what you think is overnight, there was 10 years at least of grind in the background. So it's not for the faint-hearted, and talent's not enough, truthfully. As much as we all would love to believe it should be enough, it isn't enough. And I think it's really important as well to just kind of be up on your kind of business acumen when it comes to this business, because it's so easy to get robbed and cheated out of so much in this game. So as much as you can, protect yourself to any degree that you can within your capacity, and just try and do as much research as you can.
Yeah, it's just like all of the business insight you're giving here is just like phenomenal. So thank you just for being so open and transparent and giving like lots of life lessons that people can draw from. I think the last couple of questions I want to ask you is, firstly, do you have a release date for your project? I want to get everybody, like, I know I have a lot of people that watch this podcast. I want to get everybody behind this.
Yeah. So the release date, I'll be honest with you, is not set as of yet. We are working backwards. There's a few things in the diary that are flying in at the moment, and we just want to make sure that there's we just want to make sure that it all makes sense and all falls into place in the right way. Obviously, there's a lot of shows going in the diary and at the moment, and different collaborations also in the background that people have asked me to write songs for them, write hooks for them, be on their songs, which also is very much for me a honor, and that also feels good. That feels like self-validation, because if people want to collaborate with you, it means obviously they see something in you that makes them want to, you know what I mean, be next to you with your talent. So I've been loving that, and that's been great. And so just like I said, it's just timing and dates and scheduling and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to sound boring, but I'm praying that nothing gets in the way of the project dropping this year.
Brilliant.
And I'm going to do my very best to be able to deliver it this year.
Now, I understand if you can't tell me, but do you have a title for it?
Yes, I do. that I do. That I do. And when you hear the title, this will all make sense.
Wow. Orisé, thank you so much for taking the time to come on this platform. What I can say is it's just been phenomenal interviewing you. The insight, the entrepreneurial, advice you've given, top tier. Just thank you for being a phenomenal guest.
And I want to thank you, man, because at the end of the day, Micah, you're giving, our culture, people like you are the reason why, right? We need more and more and more platforms that celebrate and shine the light on entrepreneurialism within our community. And you're providing that platform. So I've got to big you up for that, man.
Thank you so much, Orisé.
Come on now.